Hi Flosstube, my name is Kirsty, Crafting Kirsty on Instagram and on YouTube. This is a channel about cross stitching, quilting, crochet, any other craft I fancy having a go at, and gardening. It is Monday the 10th of May and this is Flosstube number 5. So I'm a good week late with this Flosstube, but there we go. I hope you've all had a good April and first 10 days of May. It's all been fairly bog standard here really. Nothing very exciting has happened. Had a few days walking and done a few things and that's been about it. I'm going to start out with some shout outs. I have two special shout outs to make. The first one is to Kerry in Stitches. So Kerry is on to Flosstube number 96 and I don't know how I've managed to miss seeing any of her previous videos or why she hasn't come up in my YouTube feed. But she has a lot of projects on the go and she also has I think it's an Etsy shop, but she certainly has a shop called Black Pear Stitchery and she does lots of key scissor fobs and ring bling and yeah, bits. So go and check out her shop. Kerry actually shouted me out a good probably 2 or 3 videos now. She's a bit more well, she just records more videos than I do. So thank you very much for the shout out. It's very kind of you, Kerry. She shouted me out as part of the under 1,000 subscribers shout out club group, whatever it is. I think there's a couple of Flosstubers who are making an effort to shout out those people with less than 1,000 subscribers. So Kerry has, I think it was, it must have been 2 or 3 videos ago now. She had the most fantastic finish. It was Gnomes in a Garden Row by Bent Creek. So it was a long, slender piece. And she had it finished with a little picket fence on the front. And then I think she said that a friend of hers had painted the flowers and little toadstools and things on it. But it's really, really great finishes. You know, it was really good. So do go and check Kerry out. Kerry in Stitches. And the second person I'd like to shout out, because he mentioned me in his video very kindly, is Christopher. And Christopher is of, I'm going to probably say this wrong, I say Skog Knits. It's SKO_G Knits, KNITS. And he's actually an American Flosstuber. He has about 5 videos out at the moment and he does cross stitching, quilting and knitting. And so far today, his videos have been divided up into those areas of craft, so, and it does quite clearly say, but he has some fantastic projects on the go, so do go and say hello and give him a wave. And Christopher has adopted my bag of shame where he's pulling old whips out and either trying to get them finished or deciding what he wants to do with them, and he has decided to frog a few of them, and I am right there with you, to be quite honest. Right, so last video I started shouting out all the UK Flosstubers that I could find or that I have found, and I did A to C and then promptly, I suppose because I've been looking and searching, the algorithm is now starting to bring more people up for me, and I missed out a lady called Beth Chadwick. And Beth is currently on the Caterpillar cross-stitch trees, the 4 seasonal trees. She has a full coverage of Fellowship of the Rings and she has a couple of Stitch Rovia items as well. So go and check out Beth Chadwick. The next one, who is a new Flosstuber but already has 3 videos out, is Cat V Stitches. And that's Catherine, and she has, as I said, she has 3 videos out. She's got a Haid. She's doing a Pilgrim by Long Dog Samplers, which looks absolutely stunning. And she's working on Happy Halloween from Lila's studio, so she has quite a mixture of projects. And then Craftie Emily. So she is on Flosstube number 27. She just, excuse the dog. She just received from Russia. Mutz, Sorry about that, can't remember where I am. So I think I was talking about Craftie Emily, and she has just received from Russia Barbara Anna designs called Seasons Girls, which is like a 4-set, which she talks about and does a bit of an unboxing with. She has 2 long dog samplers on the go, Pilgrim and Anzac, a couple of full coverages and Nora Corbett, I think. And then we move on to Crafty Rogue Gamer, Georgie. The start of her first Flosstube is really quite funny. She does call him an obnoxious cat. He did seem quite determined to ruin her video. But she has some Hayes, Bossy Threads kit, and some other projects on the go. So do go and check her out. Ellie Welliestitcher, I found via a shout out from another Flosstuber. She has 2 videos on the go so far. She has Hayes, she's doing Pain-Free Crafts, the cheese delivery, which is the same one that Lauren of Flossabilities is doing. She has some Mirabilias, long dog samplers, and some Mill Hill kits. And then a brand new Flosstuber, Emma Rose Makes. So Emma has made 1 video so far. Emma has quite a few full coverage pieces that she's finished and that Emma's in the process of doing. Emma's on the Twisted Band sampler and has the new normal underway by Long Dog Sampler, and is also participating in some sales. So do go and check out Emma Rose Makes. We then move on to another Emma of Emmaxstitching. She is on to video number 4. She is doing the Hello Pumpkin Caterpillar cross stitch, I think as part of the What Time Do You Cowl This sale. She has a modern folk embroidery piece on the go, Disney princesses, and some Hayes. And I think she's doing the mini sunflower cottage sale that's ongoing at the moment. I think it's mini sunflower cottage. It's a big sunflower, it's a very pretty piece. Next we move on to Essex Stitcher, which is Sherry, or who is Sherry. Now, Sherry of the Essex Stitcher also has a Facebook group and is starting up some Zoom meetings and Stitch with me's and things like that. Sherry has a Haid on the go, a big eagle, a Dimensions kit, which is French Bistro, which is coming along really nicely. It's looking great. Peppermint Purple design, and various other projects on the go. So do go and check out Sherry of Essex Stitcher. And then a lady who hasn't done a cross-stitching Flosstube or Flosstube since January is Tina of Fancy Lady Cross Stitch. Up until January, she had quite a lot of videos out, and she does have another channel called Simply in Stitches. And she does a lot of knitting as well as stitching. And so whether she's incorporating some of her cross-stitching progress into her Simply in Stitches channel, I don't know. But she has some dimension kits. She has quite a few Mirabilias, as you can imagine, from her Flosstube name, and Templar Prophecy by Long Dog. So do go and find her and see where she is posting her progress. Then move on to Flossabilities. Lauren of Flossabilities, I have shouted her out before. She's doing her Pain-Free Craft, 3 pieces. Chris Dunn is the artist. They're all fantastic. She does a monthly update of her progress, so do go and check her out if you haven't already. Next we have Hannah, Lily and Hyssop. Hannah's her name. Lily and Hyssop, she says, is the title, but when it comes up on YouTube, it is Hannah, Lily and Hyssop. She only has 2 videos out to date. She has an Owl Forest embroidery piece, a couple of pieces out of the Just Cross Stitching magazine, a Liz Matthews small that she's doing. She's doing one of the Whilst Irish Nap freebies. So she has quite a lot of different projects on the go. And finally, because we're going to stop with H, or stop halfway through H, is Hedgerow Stitching, who is Rebecca. Rebecca does an awful lot of samplers, and she has just reproduced her first antique sampler and put it out on a website available to buy and download and for people to stitch. So those are C, B through to halfway through H of the UK Flosstubers that I can find at the moment. So do go and check them all out. There's huge variety. You know, I'm sure somebody will float your boat. Right, cross stitching, what have I been up to? I will start as always with my Hade. This is Mini Garden Gate by Amy Stewart. I did take a whole load of pictures last time, so hopefully if I can I will insert either a split screen or a before so you can now see. But basically I had finished the first 3 pages, or the 3 pages on this side, and I'm now halfway through the next page. I was working down in rows, and this section I'm now going acrossways, and so bring it in a little bit. We've got a couple more bird houses that are sitting on top of the wall at the back of the gate. But you know, I'm just plodding along on this, pull it out, do a square, do a couple of squares, whatever. Really enjoying it, and it's all going well so far. So that was Mini Garden Gate by Amy Stewart. The second piece, I think I had just started. I think I just put the first line in to give me a basis from which to count from. And it is Sleepy Hollow by the Cricket Collection. I am doing this all as one piece and we'll have it framed. I started on this side. This church took forever. There was so much stitching in it, I couldn't believe it. And it got to the point where when I was getting towards the end of the church, I thought, I'm going to finish this page in the 1 month and then I'm having a new start. I can't just go straight onto that. So I did manage to finish that first page, and I will just, excuse me. So this is where I got to from the first page in the month of April. So we have some quite bright trees there. This has about 30 different flosses on it, of which some are fancy floss. I think there's about 5 fancy flosses. I didn't buy the fancy floss, I've stuck with DMC. And this church was supposed to be done in pewter. Now, when I first stitched it, because it was just a plain grey, it really didn't look very good at all, which obviously is where the fancy floss, I suppose, would have come in. So what I ended up doing is I just picked one strand of a darker grey, and I've just literally gone over the top of some of the squares to try and give it a bit more texture. And then I thought, well, if it's an old enough church, it would have a little bit of moss and things on it. And I don't think I was brave enough. It looks more yellow than it does green. I didn't want to go for a really dark colour to then struggle to unpick it if I didn't like it. But I have also just in various corners and across various sections overlaid with one strand of green to try and give it a bit more of a sort of mottled look. So I picked this back up at the beginning of May, and so far that's as far as I've got so far. I will get back to this. I then ended up having a few date stitches that I needed to get on with, but I am enjoying it so far. But there is a lot of stitching. There's a lot of stitching in this, but it is good. And I had a completely senior moment with these trees. For some reason, I got to these trees and with the black decided to work across and count and miss, and then back and forth and back and forth. And it wasn't until I'd finished, certainly the first one, what are you doing? Just start with the trunk, branch out, and cut. So that's what I did with the second tip. Why I decided to take that route, I don't know. But there we go. So that is Sleepy Hollow by the Cricket Collection. And these are all the flosses that I have for these. So there's some lovely bright colours in there. So that's looking really good. I do like that fabric. My next piece is the Waxing Moon Designs monthly samplers. I'd started January. I have now finished January. There was a lot of snow, a lot of wet stitching in January, but it is done. And so I have now moved on to February, and I managed to remember to bring the cover piece this time. So that is February's piece. And I have started with, here we go, probably, oh, you can see it a bit, I think, hopefully. I have got February in the top border, and yeah, There we go. And I bought January, February, and March all together. They're PDF downloads of Etsy, Waxing Me Designs. And I decided to just get all the floss at the same time as well. So I have this huge. So this is January, February, and March colours. Huge bundle of flosses here. We then go on to date stitching. So on the 1st and the 8th of the month, I work on 2020 Pandemic Sampler from Sassy Girl. This is available from her Instagram. Yeah, I'm sure you can get it off of her Instagram page, or you'll find it via her Instagram page. I'm doing this as part of the It's Been One Hell of a Year Sal hashtag on Instagram. These that I'm using similar to, but not the exact flosses. I just picked what I had out of my stash. So these are some of the colours I've got. I didn't tell you what those other projects were being worked on, but there we go. Nothing exciting. And hopefully you'll see a before on at some point. So here we are now. I've actually had 3 days working on this because I'm a bit late coming to do the Flosstube. So I've managed to finish one of the motifs. I've done more roof of the house, started the side of the house, a couple of motifs at the bottom, and worked across the border, filled it all in. But this is 1/1 on 25 count Lugana. Really, really enjoying it. It's a great little stitch. Sometimes wonder if my colours are quite right, but then think, oh well, it'll do. So that was the 2020 Pandemic Sampler. And then I decided that I was going to join in with the Blackbird Designs weekend sale organised by Brenda the Sampler Stitcher, and Laura. That's fine. It's Brenda and the Serial Starter on YouTube, Brenda Sampler Stitcher, and Laura is Maud and Mozart on Instagram, I think. Anyway, whatever, I've joined in with their sale. This is the first time I've ever bought a Blackbird Designs, and I bought the book because I thought it was about time I did. And I have chosen to use, sorry, just cover up the pattern. A random piece of stitching. I am doing this strawberry, which is the first winds of autumn. It's the first time I've ever made a strawberry. First time I've stitched a Blackbird piece. It was actually the May bank holiday, the first weekend of May here. So we had a full day out for one of the days and whatnot. So I didn't get as much as I would have liked to have got done, but I got some, so that's fine. I've used the Call for DMCs. These. And I've got this far, and I'm doing this on 32 count vellum, which came from my friend Chris, who had got it from Fox Glove and Lace Linen. And I've done a bit of a tactical stitch here. So I went across the bottom to give me to count, and then I started to work my way up the bird. Because once I've got the basic bird outline in, I can then either go right or left from there, easily counting. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this stitch. It's stitched up reasonably quickly and easily. And looking forward to getting back to it at the beginning of June, hopefully. My third date whip was, or is the Dark October stitching. So I stitched it on the 13th and the 31st. Obviously we didn't have a 31st in, April. So I stitched on the 30th instead, but I finished it. Woohoo! So this is Earthly Treasures from Plum Street Samplers. Really, really enjoyed this. This is done on 28 count cashel linen, just a piece I bought from Hobbycraft. It's stitched up really quickly. I think I started it in February, so it's taken me to 3 months of just a couple of days each month working on it. And yeah, I'm really, really pleased with it. So that now does mean I have a slot open for a new start. And I need to make my decision soon but I am toying between Pinebury Lane, Fancy Blackett, Harvest Dance. Yes, it is the Harvest Dance. I would put Harvest Dance here rather than Fancy Blackett, because really that means nothing to me. I know it's a series and there's lots of great things in it, but I would probably put Harvest Dance. And I think it counts because it has witches in it. So I can start that one. Or I have this chart, Nimri, I'm going to call it, I don't know. Pomacidra, cider, apples and cider. And little pixie folk. So I might start that one. The only thing I like this chart, the only thing putting me off it is it's really quite a difficult chart to read. It's on that sort of yellowy fabric, very small. And yeah, it's going to be quite hard work to actually work off the chart itself. So I haven't decided which one of those two I'm going to start yet. I'll have to wait and see. And then my final date stitch is the Owl Forest Embroidery Merry Christmas. So last month, I had a bit of a disaster with this. I'd done the M and I was on to the E, and I started it on one of the Zoom meetings actually or the Facebook meetings within the Essex Stitcher Facebook group. Started it far too high, didn't have enough fabrics, had to frog it all at the end of the evening, so I wasn't best impressed. So I started again. And I managed to get the E done this time. So we have a nice little gingerbread man and a little star cookie and all the rest of it. I'm always never keen to pick this piece up. But actually I really like it when I start stitching on it, and I didn't want to put it down when I'd finished. But I did this, I started it on the 24th in the evening, worked on the 25th and finished it off on the 26th. Because I'm not going to get one of these done just in one session. I'm doing this 1/2. It's on a 30 count Irish linen. And I do struggle to see it. It's a slow stitch for me. I have to take my time with it. But I do like it now. I'm sort of getting into the swing of it. I am enjoying it more. And then I think I said in the beginning when I was talking about the Sleepy Hollow piece that as I was sort of 3/4 of the way through the church, I'm going to start something new now. And I chose, because I was feeling all spring-like, I had the spring feeling, and everyone was showing their spring charts. I had bought a kit, actually I've got two of them, I got the autumn piece as well, off of Stash Unload, and it's called Summer Storm by Posey. And as I said, I bought summer and autumn, and I did do a quick check on the internet, and I couldn't find anywhere else where I'd find these. So then when I put this on the Instagram, one of the ladies immediately said, "Oh, I've just been onto her blog and found all of her charts, and they're absolutely fantastic." So if you do I put in Alicia Poulsen, Posey, and she has a blog, and I think from that you can then find all of it. And there is spring and winter, and she has lots of other lovely charts, and she has a lot of PDFs, which is really good. As I said, it was a kit, so it came with fabric and it came with the threads. But the threads, it says, I've kept my piece of paper at him. These colour names are not assigned by DMC, but are generally accepted in the industry. Fine. The flosses below are organised loosely, starting with the quilt, moving to the house, and then continuing around design clockwise, listed in order as you first encounter each colour. Well, this rat's nest of flosses came out of the pack, and oh my god, it's driving me insane. I still have one floss that I can't assign a name to, and that I think, well, I can't see where I'm going to use it at all. There are an awful lot of very similar pinks, an awful lot of very similar greens, and I am basically just winging it now. It will be what it will be. I'm enjoying it. This is the pattern. The fabric came on a 32 count fabric, is all it says. But actually it's very easy to work again. Excuse me, I thought I'd ironed it, obviously didn't do a very good job. So this is how far I've got so far. So again, I will just pick this up in between other pieces and just put a thread in here, a thread in there, and then get to the end, a bit like when you put a piece of IKEA furniture together and you still have a screw and a bolt at the end of it, and you know, well, see how long it lasts, it'll fall apart. And that will be the same with that. There's definitely a piece of floss I have. No idea what it's supposed to be. So that is the end of all of my whips, current whips, only whips actually, although they do seem to be multiplying slightly like rabbits. It is getting quite scary how much of the end of the dining room table is now being taken up with whips as I lay out my pieces for the Flosstube. But there is haul. I would like to say some months there might not be, but I don't think there's ever going to be a month when there isn't haul. So again, I said it last time, I will say it again, I need to get off Stash Unload. But I have found some great things on it. So the first, or not in no particular order, I found this book, and it's absolutely fantastic. It has lots of pretty Christmas designs. So basically you go through, the front of the book is full of these lovely staged photos, which makes everything look absolutely wonderful. Mine will never be staged like that. It will just be plonked on the side somewhere. And all these different ideas and designs. And then in the middle onwards, I love this one, little square houses going round. So table toppers, table runners, napkins, pretty ribbons on wreaths, lots of ideas for things to do for Christmas. Pillows, yeah, all the rest of it. And then the designs are in the middle of the book. So I'll look forward to doing some of those. I bought Comfort Lighthouse by Carriage House Samplings. This will no doubt be going into the bathroom, you'd imagine. Absolutely love it, love all the blues in it. And it has now got me in the back of my mind. I'm just thinking about starting a piece, just winging it, making it up as I go along. Around a hymn that I really like, and I'm not religious, so around him. Anyway, the next piece I bought, or the next chart I bought, was The Potting Shed by Brenda Gervais. Love this. I then, from All Through the Night, Use What Talents You Possess. I just think it's quite pretty. So I've carefully taken these out so they weren't in the plastic, and then I keep on forgetting to move the bags with them. And then another Blackbird design piece, which is also tying in with what was getting me to think about something I want to do for myself. We Live in Hope. The next bit of haul, I went with my quilting best friend. We did a bit of a road trip a couple of weeks ago as the shops had reopened, and I specifically went to, well, we went to we've near Northamptonshire, and we've got two good quilt shops in Northamptonshire, and one of them, Poppy Patch, specialises in a lot of Australian designers and things from Australia, and for a long time they've had these over-dyed flosses, and I only tend to go there once or twice a year, normally once a year. And the last time I went, I looked at this and thought, oh, I really need to investigate some of those some more. And I've been thinking about them all year, and I thought, you know, great for a red sampler, and you know, lovely. So I went back and bought them, and they are country cottage garden threads, and they're from Australia. So the next thing I know, Nikki Noodles, Flosstuber from Australia, is talking all about these threads that she's using with some Australian designs that she's doing at the moment. And you know, so I don't know whether you can find them or not in America and England and all that stuff. Well, you can find them in England. Poppy Patch, Northamptonshire, if you put that in, and they're all online, so you can order online, you can phone up and speak to the ladies, really, really friendly, very nice. And I bought, so I've got Ivy, which is the green, Charlie, which is the blue, and Hugs and Kisses, which is the red for the obligatory red sampler when I get around to doing one. 10 meters pre-cut stranded cotton. And I obviously bought some other things whilst I was in the shop, and then I sort of grabbed these, and the lady said to me, says, what are you going to do with those? There's, you know, none of the projects you've bought call for them. And I said, well, cross stitch. She said, what do you mean cross stitch? And so I was telling her all about fancy floss and cross stitching, and she was a bit bemused by it all, because apparently these are all used for embroidery within the designs that they stock. You know, so Lynette Anderson, a lot of Lynette Anderson's, and I can't remember the other girl. She does like the gnome quilts and all the quilts with the animals on. Anyway, so if you had watched Nikki's Noodles and you wanted to try cottage garden threads, they are available. Poppy Patch, Northamptonshire. Finally, the biggie. I posted this on, I've completely overblown this. I posted this on Instagram and said I'm not going to open it until, or I'm not going to show you it until my next floss tube. This is, and I keep on trying to think of a phrase, the only phrase I can come up with is the dog's bollocks, quite frankly. This is the dog's bollocks of a cross stitch chart as far as I'm concerned. I saw this a while ago and I went, oh, I love it. And I looked it up and really quickly read the blurb and basically came away thinking it was just a museum piece that you weren't able to get hold of. And then I saw it again and I thought, no, someone stitched that. That's available somewhere as a chart, and looked it up. And of course, the ever brilliant Kitten Stitcher, Shakespeare's Peddler, had it in stock. Well, she had it. And I was like, umming and ahhing, because it's not the cheapest, and obviously coming from America, you quite likely have to pay taxes on it as well. So I ummed and ahed, and then Brenda was having a little mini soapbox rant about the fact that if you want to buy a pattern, you should buy a pattern because it makes you happy. And she was looking at me when she said that. So I thought, I'm just going to go and buy that pattern. And of course it was out of stock. So I then emailed Teresa Kitten Stitcher and said, oh my God, is it coming back in? Because now I have to have it. And she said she'd let me know when it was back in, which she did. And so I purchased it. I have bought things from Shakespeare's Peddler before. As I said, obviously she's in America, I'm in England. Once I've had to pay tax, and twice I haven't had to pay tax on it. I don't know what the rules and regulations are. But I think, if you're going to order something, you just need to factor in that you're quite likely going to have to buy it. But anyway, I know you're all on the edge of your seats waiting to see, and I'm sure you'll all just go, yeah, that's right. I love it, absolutely love it. I have bought, it's a biggie, it's a beast. And I can't remember what the name of it is. I'm going to have to turn around so I can read it. It is Antrim's Folly, a Burlington County inspiration from Heart's Ease Exemplar Works. And so this is an original needlework design by Teresa M. Bard, I'm going to say. Might not be right, Teresa M. Bard. But it is based off an antique sampler. I just love it. Absolutely love it. It has everything in it that I love. Probably won't bother with this bit, but this just is fantastic. So when this sold, so the original was part of a needlework collection belonging to noted scholar, author and collector Betty Ring. And it sold for over $1 million at the time. Now this is the original. It's all right. I think I prefer Trees, Birds, Bards. I can't say a surname, I'm so sorry. I think I prefer this one. This one sold for over $1 million. Unbelievable, isn't it? Anyway, I now have it, and it is in cross stitch, but there are a number of speciality stitches. And so I'm just going to take my time with it. I did get thoroughly overexcited. I go, oh, this is it. This is my heirloom piece. This is the piece, And I thought, oh, I'm going to do it in silk. But there's about 30 odd, and I realised it was going to, at a very brief, quick count, it was going to take about £200 to get it out in silk. So I think we'll be going with DMC. Particularly as I'm bound to mess up some of the speciality stitches. But I am so excited about this. I'm going to have to show what it's for. So yeah, love that. Love Kitten Stitcher, Shakespeare's Peddler. Of course, looking at this, I then found a few other charts that I also liked. So no doubt we'll be revisiting her site at some point. That I think is it for the cross stitching section. Sorry, I've got an itchy leg, excuse me. So I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. I hope I might have enabled you to buy something or go and look at something or go and check out a project or a product. And I'm going to move on to quilting now. So if you're not going to hang around for the quilting, thank you very much for coming to visit me and watching my cross stitching piece. And I hope you have a fantastic May. And I will see you in June at some point. I think I might well end up pushing these back to about this date in the month. There's so many that come out at the beginning and the end of the month that it just gets a bit swamped. And I have far more interest in watching other people's than recording my own. So yeah, I'll probably just push it back a bit. So bye, see you later. So if you're here for the quilting, I'm still working on my Catherine Kerr Etoile Rouge quilt. I haven't got a huge amount further with it. I am at this month's section was basically the sashing and the keystones, which actually took quite a long time. So this is what the sashing is going to be. And I've made about 28 of these. It took quite a long time cutting up, sewing and all the rest of it, ironing. And so I need to cut out my cornerstones from this. Or keystones, they are actually not cornerstones, keystones. And then I'll get on with some more of the blocks. So that's the gold and the green to incorporate, start bringing in a bit more of a Christmas vibe to it. Hopefully I will have put a picture, or I will put a picture now of this Etoile Rouge quilt, basic red and white. It's very nice. I'm going to show you a previous finish. Now this is a really, really simple quilt. This I bought as a kit, and I bought it because I don't normally buy kits because I tend to find them quite expensive. And knowing me, I'd cut a piece of fabric wrong and then it would just be redundant. I wouldn't be able to use the rest of it. But I bought this because it was really, really simple and I absolutely loved the fabric in it. Sorry, I'm just trying to work out which way up it goes. Here we go. Excuse me. So, as I said, I bought this as a kit from a local quilt show, the things we used to go to pre-COVID, and hopefully we'll be able to go to again. Essentially, excuse me, came as this middle panel, and then there was a second panel to cut your corners out of. The trees around the edge were one long strip you just cut up, and this middle section of the border again was just one long piece that you cut up, and then you basically put it together with your four corners, your middle and your borders. Now the lady who had done this initially had her four corners pointed at, so two were pointing one way and two were pointing the other way, and I didn't really like that. I prefer to just look at the quilt from an end, and it's either the right way up or it's the wrong way up. So I put mine all facing the one way, or pointed in the one direction. So my hair, chicken, and then we have birds over flowers and a fox underneath a tree. But this was so simple. I bought this, probably made it in the weekend, to be quite honest with you. It's very, very simply quilted. It had everything in it. Well, I mean, it had the binding in it, and obviously the front, not the backing or the wadding. But yeah, you literally just cut it up and stuck it back together again, or pieced it back together again. Pieced it back together again. And I just love it. I just love the colours in it. I think it's so pretty. So that's a previous finish. Out of my bag of shame, I've got this final quilt top, partial quilt top, and I've just given up with it. I certainly know I'm not going to complete any more of the quilt top itself. And I had thought I'll just quilt it And even if it ends up on the dog's bed, it ends up on the dog's bed. I'm not even sure I can be bothered to do that. But I'm going to show it. I want to get it out of the bag of shame. And we'll see. So this is how I first got in to Catherine Kerr. She does a 365-day quilt. And it is as it sounds. You get a block a day for 365 days. And at the end of it, you have a massive quilt. And again, it's another tonal quilt. So you are supposed to choose a colour. And then you have darker and lighter shades of that colour. And it's just a succession of borders that go out in the dark and the light shades. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic quilt. Every day has a different block in it. The months tend to be organised within techniques, I suppose is the best way to describe it. Free, completely free on the internet. And again, with a huge website full of resources to help you. I wouldn't say it's an intermediate, I wouldn't say it's a beginner quilt, even though you have everything to help you. And it is one hell of an undertaking, because by the time you've actually printed it off, cut out the pieces, and then stitched them all together, it really does take up the majority of your crafting time for that night. So I didn't keep up with it. So I ended up sort of spending a week where I'd cut a week or 2 weeks worth of pieces, and then a week where I was stitching them all together. But these are 3.5-inch finished blocks. And in some of these blocks, there are well over 30 pieces. And then you have other borders of 6-inch blocks. So I didn't do mine in one colour, obviously. I did mine scrappily, which didn't help my cause either, because then I was trying to get things that matched and worked together, and it took even longer. So I'm just showing you vaguely around the borders. I mean, there are so many missed points, so many lost points, so many wonky bits. But actually, when I put it together, I was like, oh yeah, no, it's all right, it's okay, I don't mind that. And then the middle piece, and I managed to lose a point in the very centre. And I hadn't realised I'd done that until I put it all together. And I couldn't be bothered to take it all apart. And then it got to the point, so the middle section is obviously the lighter colours. And I'd finished these 2 outer rows here. And I was about to move on to the lighter colours again for the next section. And I just realised that I didn't have enough fabric, it wasn't big enough. It was just, everything was becoming an absolute nightmare with it. So I gave up with it. I put it all together. So we have this one big square, which would be a decent sized lap quilt, to be fair to it. And I really should just do something with it. We'll see. If I'm very, very bored one day, I might do it. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's not going back in the bag, for shame. It might go in the bin. Don't know. There you go. So as I said, my best friend and I, or my quilting best friend and I, went on a Thelma and Louise road trip to our 2 quilting shops. So I got the thread from Poppy Patch. And as I said, Poppy Patch is a small shop. They have a lot of stuff, but it is a small shop. But they do, as I said, specialise in Australian designers. And they have an awful lot of sort of patterns and kits and whatnot. And so the majority of the reason I went to that shop was to buy some patterns. So I have them. So cool. Love it. Where are they? Look at the chickens. So bought this. My friend did say, is that for when you have grandchildren? Nope, it's for now. I like it. I think it's really cool. It's just so bright. But also, it's not a plique, but it's just big blocks. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I really want to make that. So that is Windy Hill Farm from the Red Boot Quilt Company. I then bought Dancing Chickens and Flying Pigs from Hatched and Patched. So this is an Australian design company. And this, as you can see, is sort of wool applique and stitchery, really. So there's lots of different things in there, and I absolutely love that. I did ask if they stocked wool, and they don't, woven wool, and they don't. We do struggle to find it here in England. I know there is, I think it's So Hot. I know they have it, so I will probably go there, because we were discussing the fact that I could just use normal fabric. If I can get the wool, I'd rather do it with woven wool. So we shall have to see. So I'll be on. So if anybody knows, other than, I'm sure it's called So Hot, if anybody knows of anywhere in England other than that I can get woven wool from, that'd be fab. Let me know. Flying pigs. On the same theme, we love Christmas here. The Santa, the tree, the turkey and me. And these are all individual sort of blocks that you then sort of patch together. Now, my only issue with these two is I'm not actually hugely keen on wall hangings. Gasp, shock, horror, I know. So I think I will probably end up putting these in frames, to be quite honest with you. Unless I can find a really cool way of making it into a wall hanging. I've got a couple of wall hangings, quilting wall hangings that I've done before, and they're still on the wall, but I'm just not that fussed on them. But we'll see. And then the grown-up quilt pattern. Well, the one grown-up quilt pattern that I bought is Dear Jen by Jen Kingwell. And so this is fabulous. It's just blocks basically of 3. So I think you make each block individually, and you just do it 3 times. And you have a mixture of light and dark backgrounds, and then the opposing either piece to pieces or appliqued on the top. Here we go. Let's start with the blocks, so you can see some of these blocks. As I said, it's a mixture of pieced and appliqued. Very busy. Mine probably won't be as busy. The one thing I do find as I start to go around looking at quilts and quilt shows and things is I love the fabric, so I like to be able to see the fabric, and I find if it just all gets a bit too busy and you can't quite see the fabric, I'm not as keen. So I would probably have a plainer light or dark background, and then, or you know, make sure one aspect of it is plainer to make the other stand out. And then the final, oh yeah, and then the second shop we went to, sorry, not the final, the second shop we went to is Bramble Patch, which is on the other side of Northamptonshire. So that's a huge quilt store, bolts and bolts of fabric. And one of the things I bought from them, because I didn't actually need any fabric, one of the things I bought from them was this tote bag pattern, which I'd really like to make one of those. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I'm not fantastic at reading patterns. I'm much more visual. And sadly, this isn't, for me, this isn't a fantastic pattern. There's 2 very small little pictures that really don't help you at all. So I will try and sit down and work my way through it. And if I can't, I will ask a friend to come and help me. And hopefully they'll be able to do it. So I bought that from Bramble Patch. And then the last thing I bought, because of course, excuse me, I did just say I don't need any fabric. Oh, there we go. So in the Bramble Patch, as I said, they normally have bolts, and I find it's a bit, it's not intimidating, but unless you specifically know what you want, I generally tend to come out with not very much, because there's just so much, and you buy one piece, and yeah, anyway. They had done, during lockdown, they'd obviously put one of their members of staff to work cutting up some fat quarters and bundles, and they had them on sale. And so they were £10 for 6 fat quarters per bundle. So I bought 4 bundles, which we worked out basically came to 6 meters of material for £40, which really isn't too bad at all. And they're all sort of just coordinating prints, very just sort of calm, autumny, well not autumny, but just neutrally colours and fabrics. They all go together nicely. And I bought just, I think probably 1 metre or 2 meters of just a background fabric to bulk it out with. And I don't really have a huge plan. Well, I did have a bit of a plan with that one actually. Is one of the first books I bought when I started quilting was this book, One Patch Quilts. And in here you have all different shapes. So things like clamshell, half hexagon. You can make your own templates from the book. Tumbler, 60-degree diamond. You know, so as you can see, there are 20 different shapes, and all those shapes, with each shape you can make an entire quilt. She shows you, you know, sort of various layouts which will give you varying designs depending on your colours and things. And I did think, because I actually don't have one, I did think I might just use that creeper fabric and make a very simple square quilt. I don't have one. To my mind, it is the quintessential traditional, you know, you think of a quilt, you think of squares. Or I am quite tempted with the half square triangles. But I'm not sure I've got enough of that backing fabric to do an entire quilt like that. Anyway, so we shall see. But hopefully it'll be simple, whatever it is. And I think that is it for the quilting section. So I'll be going on to crochet now. So if you're leaving me here, thank you very much. I hope I've inspired you with some of the patterns. I hope you might go out and get some. And yeah, have a fab May. And I will hope to be back at some point in June with a few more quilty bits done, or started at least, if not done. So my crochet, the never-ending shawl. It really is never-ending because I've just frogged the entire thing. I had done the initial green skein or hank. I had finished the red hank, and I was working my way through the rat's nest of the second green skein. Have I got, actually, have I got, I don't know if I've got it all here, what I'm talking about. So if you're new, I'd bought two of this, I think it's hank, you call it, a hank of yarn. I bought two of these, and the first one I tried to wind and it just into this complete rat's nest. So the second one I did manage to get round a bit better. So yeah, so I haven't quite finished because I think I will probably just restart off of this end and this will all just come out. So I'd got that far, so I'd got so far, and it still wasn't looking fantastic. And basically what was set to go, so I know last time I was trying to describe it and I didn't do it very well at all. Essentially, my shawl was getting deeper and deeper and deeper in the middle, but no wider across the top. And I think it's basically an equilateral triangle, and I wanted more of an obtuse triangle. I just had to Google those. Check that I had it the right way. Could still be wrong about that. So it just wasn't extending across the top, the part that you want to wrap around your shoulders at all. It was just going further and further down my back. And I knew it wasn't quite right at the beginning. And I thought, well, before I go any further, I'm going to take a video of it to put in here. And I'm going to ask people's help. I mean, it's a free pattern on her YouTube channel. And I was going to say, you know, if you don't want to hear that, then don't listen to the next 5 minutes. And I was going to explain all of how it was put together and ask, what can I do to change this to make it longer on it? So I spread it out on the lounge table, started to take the video, looked through the camera at it, just like shit. Just looks like crap. Don't like it. So I'm just chasing bad stitching now. It's just getting to the point where whatever I do with this, A, I'm not going to like it, and B, I'm just going to get myself even more into a tangle. And so I just started frogging it. So I have frogged it. I have started putting it on these empty spools that I had. I've also started putting it on empty toilet rolls. So I am going to start it again. I am going to make this shawl. I'm not being beaten by a piece of yarn, a crochet hook, and a quick and easy simple shawl. But I have nothing to show you because I've ripped it all apart. So hopefully, beginning of June, I might have the start of a shawl to show you. And I think I know where I'm going wrong. And I think I've come up with a plan of how to work out how to do it to get it correct. We will just see. So Christopher, I'm joining you on frogging it. I was ripping it out. Had enough of it. Just can't be doing with this. So I have nothing else to show you on the crochet front, I'm afraid. Any other crafts? I haven't done any, but I do have a couple of previous things to show you that I have made, and these are all in the theme of bags. So this is a nice oilcloth bag, zip top. Love the pattern on this. Web handles, we go underneath the bottom of it. So I made this bag at a day workshop at the Tudor Rose on the outskirts of Bedford. They quite often put classes on, and I thought I'm going to go and give one a go. And I can't remember the lady's name, I'm very sorry. She lives up in Scotland, and I think sort of once a year she does this big, travels all the way down to see friends in Devon or Cornwall, and stops at various places along the way doing workshops and sort of visiting various quilt shops and whatnot. But she was a fantastic teacher. So if you ever get the chance to take a workshop with a woman with no name, do it, because she really is very good. So that was the first, well, that was the second bag I made that day with her. The first bag you actually, so all of those materials you provided yourself, you bought yourself. And the first bag we made, she provided them as little kits, and they were very sort of, I think they were included in the price of the day. And so I just made this very small zip, you'll have to excuse it, has got some flosses in there. Box bottomed bag with some really cool sheep on it. And then the final bag actually I made, back again. Final bag I made was this, which is the Hippie Festival bag. So it only has one strap. It's supposed to be a cross bag. It's got 2 pockets on the side of it. This I made, I was in a bit of a strop when I went to this. I don't know why. Well, I'd signed up for it, or I'd said to a friend I'd do it. And I think it was just after January, and I decided that I didn't really want to do it anymore. So I certainly wasn't going to spend any money doing it. So these are just patches, leftover material that I had, but actually it works quite well, I think. I like it. I'm not sure I like only having the one strap, and certainly I wouldn't take it to quilt shows or use it because there's no way of securing the top of it. But it's very handy for putting my crochet in and hanging off the side of a chair. It hangs very nicely on a chair. And that is that. So you can see why, where is it? I wanted to make this, and I thought, well, I've made some bags. I'm not scared of zips and, you know, all the rest of it, but this really isn't a very user-friendly pattern. But we shall see. We shall give it a go. So that's the end of the any other craft section as well. I do hope to bring something out and do something this month, even if I start something. So at some point soon, we're going to segue into gardening. I would like to make a few disclaimers. I am not an expert gardener. I enjoy gardening. I'm quite happy to spend a lot of time gardening. I can't remember the names of half the plants that I have in my garden. I quite often put plants in, forget that they're there, and then manage to dig them up the next year thinking that they're a weed. My garden, along with everything else, is never going to look perfect all in one go. So what has happened is I think I took a video at the end of at the end of April. I did a bit of a garden tour and waffled a lot. I do like to talk about gardening. There's an awful lot of waffle. It's very long. It's nearly as long as this video. I thought, no, that's ridiculous. We don't need all of that. But at the time, it looked quite smart. And then I thought a couple of days ago, I really need to redo something with that. So I have taken some shorter clips, but the lawn wasn't mown, so that looks a bit of a mess. So what I'm going to do, I think, is probably amalgamate the two, try and find good bits out of each video and amalgamate the two if I can, if YouTube will let me, and it'll upload. And I think in future, what I might well do is just end up doing it more as a bit of a vlog style, where I literally just take a video either before or after I've done something, and then at the end of the month just stick it all together or go back to it and take a photo to say this is how this has progressed, or this has grown, or this hasn't grown, because trying to find that one day to find the time when everything looks immaculate and the sun's shining and all the rest of it is proving to be quite hard work. So if you're not going to stay for the gardening, I don't blame you. But if you do, I hope you enjoy it. I won't come back afterwards. I'll just say goodbye now. So thank you very much for watching this far. If you stay for the gardening, I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, I hope you have. I can't remember. I think I must have said marvellous for March, just because it's sort of... So I'm going to go for magnificent May. I hope you all have a magnificent May. I hope you get lots and lots done. And I hope you come back in June to see my progress or not on any of the projects I have or haven't started. Take care. Bye. Okay, quick video. It is May the 7th, I think. This is the garden. It's the second time I videoed. The first time I wasn't happy with it, so it was too long. I waffle a lot about gardening. So hopefully reduce this. There are various jobs that need doing, but there are always jobs that need doing. So do a quick scan around. So we have the garden, which is the semi-mown lawn area. This area is a horseshoe shape, goes round 3 sides of the garden. It's a little field. It was larger, it's now smaller. So in this area, in the spring, we have lots of daffodils, primroses, and it all comes up. It's all over now, and this gets quite heavily shaded during the summer. I need to trim it, clear it, and I'm going to try and plant some more shade-loving spring bulbs this year. That's a nice little area to sit when it's really hot on the 2 days of the English summer when it's unbearable heat. That's lovely to sit under there. So this is shaded end of the patio, various hostas, ferns in pots. Sorry, going a bit too quickly. Back wall that I'm trying to cover a bit. Hollyhocks coming up here. I have put some foxglove seeds in. Whether they grow or not, we shall see. These are a type of rose, that needs tying in, a type of rose that just seem to grow higher and higher and higher. I have cut off the majority of the stems, just left one main stem in the hope that they'll bush up from the bottom. If they don't, then they're going to come out this year because they've got horrible thistles on them, or sort of thorny bits on them, and it's just an absolute nightmare trying to tie them in. It really is hard work. So if they don't do what I want them to do this year, which is be green from the ground up, then they are going. And I don't know what I'm going to put in place of them. A little bit of a messy area that will be tidied up at some point. Whole load of pots, plants I intend on putting into pots and into the beds today. We have a nice-ish dry day today. I think it's going to rain a lot more tomorrow, so I might as well get them in before the rain. Wisteria growing up the wall and just beginning to come out. It looks lovely and smells lovely. It goes across that window as well. This bed is a real annoyance. It's only very narrow, as you can see, and whatever I put in it grows up so high and then flops forward. I've tried various things throughout the years. I think this year I will, or certainly at the end of this year, because there are a few things that might appear over the course of the summer, I will put some bricks in along here. Leave that hollyhock, which grows absolutely huge, and the peony, because they won't move anyway. Not peony, sorry, poppy, oriental poppy, they won't move anyway. Put some bricks in and just put a whole load of pots along here, and hopefully that'll make life a bit easier. So we now have some flower beds. When I first started running, we took the garden into the field. Running down this fence line, I put in the initial I did one a year, one section a year, dug it all over, etc, etc. I've spent my life weeding it, and then 2019 to 2020, 2019 to 2020, this area here going all along and out. I did as no dig, so I put a whole load of cardboard down, a whole load of compost on top of it, homemade compost as well as shop bought compost, covered it with bits of tarpaulin to try and smother all the weeds and things, and it worked really well. And I've put some perennials in here. I'm not a good gardener, I can't remember the names of a lot of the plants that are in here. I know I've got lots of hollyhocks, self-seeded hollyhocks that are coming up, achilleas, I've got some delphiniums and some lupins, more oriental poppies, some normal poppies that seem to have self-seeded down there. And yeah, so last year it did really well. I can't find photos from last year. I'll see if I can find any. If I can't, I won't insert them here. This year I've got more perennials to put in, and I will scatter more annual seeds. Last year I just scattered a whole load of annual seeds all over it and let them get on with it, and it was absolutely fantastic. It worked really well, lovely colours, everything flowered at different times of the year, and it was just good. So yeah, I'll put a few more perennials in and do the same. Bird feeder around here, excuse the washing line, a few alpines underneath the washing line. I always have lower level plants, just so they don't get, the heads don't get hit by the washing all the time. And this is a slightly shadier end. It does get a bit of sun, does get a bit of shade, so it's a bit hit and miss what will go in here. A bit of weeding needs to be done here. So yeah, so that is it all. Whoops. From, sorry, I'm trying to, along the patio. Alright, so this is the next bed, going down to the end of the garden. This bed has been in 5-6 years. As I say, I sort of, if you can see the fence post, I sort of extended it out a fence post each year. Again, this has all been done digging wise, and it's still hard work getting all the weeds out of it and things. This is also, it gets quite dry down at this end, I think probably because of this tree. And these tree roots. I've got some annuals to go in here, and I've got some perennials to go in here, and I think probably this autumn time I will extend it out to reach the end of that sort of border there. Again, using the no dig method. It's absolutely fantastic, very little work, and you get really good soil afterwards. So I'll take it up to the top and bring it down there. So this year I wanted to, underneath this tree, it's always a bit of a nightmare, the grass doesn't grow fantastically and it's just a real pain to mow around it. So I thought, right, I'll bring it out. So I have done this whole no dig where I have put down cardboard on top of the grass, which is slowly beginning to die off. I put a whole load of ropey old compost, leaf clippings, leaf mould, you know, all the rest of it, and then I've put a few bags of compost on top of it. Again, this year I'll only sow some annuals in here, sort of shallow rooting things, and then hopefully next year it'll be more of a proper bed. I'll be able to dig into it as such. Not that I'll dig it over, but I'll just be able to dig deeper into it, and plant some annuals in there. But this gets quite shady, so it's now 11:30 midday. This in the middle of summer is from shade here onwards for the rest of the day, so it's quite a shady, dry area, so I'll have to get the correct plants to go in there. Okay, vegetable plot, including the dog sunning himself on the tarpaulin. So at the furthest end is the first bed I put in. We've had that, you know, probably 16-17 years now. Again, dug it over. I've dug it and dug it every year. I've really struggled with the weeds in it. Last year I put a whole load of fruit in it, and I've just been mulching it since, because I don't need to dig it anymore. And then this section here I put in last winter, so I had it last summer, so it went in 2019 to 2020, and I did it in the no dig method, which is what you see here, which basically I've just covered it with compost, leaf mould, everything I can find, covered it over so as to try and kill off all the weeds, left it for as long as I could, and certainly in this bed, the second one, the middle one, you know, it worked absolutely fantastically last year. Very, very few weeds. What there are, so easy to pull up. You know, I probably get a bucket every couple of months as I weed, whereas the very first bed with all the fruit in it is still very weed heavy. I will probably, after I finish filming this, take this tarpaulin off. We've got a lot of rain due tomorrow, And that was the only mistake I made with the middle bed, was I didn't take the tarpaulin off in time. We had a very, very dry spring, and so it was always quite dry underneath as a result. So if I can take the tarpaulin off, it can get good rain on it tomorrow and over the next couple of days, and then I can start planting things in it. So at the moment that's empty, except for the lesser spotted Twippet. So if we go into this bed, these 2 lines here are my main crop potatoes, Cara, that I put in yesterday, in this little cage. I don't think you can see, oh yes you can just see those. I've got some multi-sown leeks that have gone in there, and these were, or one of them possibly still is, some runner beans. Every year I start to sow my seeds too early. Every year they get too big in the greenhouse and I have to put them out, and every year they get caught by the frost. And you would think I would learn, but no, I'm sure next year I will be showing you the same picture of some frosted off plants that I planted too early. Fortunately I have more coming, so that's always good. Underneath this fleece I have some Sweden turnips that I bought from a garden centre. They were like £1 a tray, so I thought, well, it'll be rude not to, so I picked those up and I put them under there. More for the fleece is there more for protection against rabbits than anything else really, but they're all growing quite well under there. And in, let me just work my way around, in these little rows we've got some parsnips. They're quite late sown. The first sowing didn't do anything because it didn't rain, so I've put those in the hope that something will happen. The next 2 rows are scorzonera, which I've never sown before, never grown, never eaten it. It's a root vegetable, I think rather similar to parsnips and things. And next to that, these 2 are salsify, which again I've never grown before. Very similar to scorzonera, so we shall see. So if they chit, that will be great. Down here you can see a little, hopefully a little raised area where I've put more compost on the top. Those were my first potatoes that went in, a variety called Anya, which I've put in because they're supposed to be like pink fir apples, and I absolutely love pink fir apples. And you can see some of them have eventually finally started to chit, so I am still, or not chit, show above the ground, so I'm still covering these with frost, from the frost. And on this side you can see a whole load of little potato graves there for you. Those are the pink fir apples, they went in yesterday. So yeah, so they've had a good rain on them, and hopefully they will start to grow away soon as well. We now move round to the fruit side. Blueberry bushes in tubs. I put them into the tubs because they prefer the ericaceous soil, and it just seems an easier way to do it. We have got 3 rows of raspberry canes, which went in last springtime. They're autumn fruiting raspberries, so I think between October to January, at any point during then, you just cut them right down to about 1 inch above ground level and they just grow back up again. They have grown back up again, and some of them have been caught by frost, but they seem to be regrowing anyway, so I'm just going to leave them to get on with it and hope and pray that, you know, they keep growing for me. I did get some raspberries off them last year. Here we have 4 gooseberries of, I think, 2 red, 2 green, supposedly at different times of the year, or, you know, what's the word? Successionally. They should flower and fruit successionally. And at the back we have a blackcurrant bush. 2 rhubarb plants. I am semi-tempted to take some rhubarb off those, or certainly off the back one, but equally they only went in last spring. It was a very dry spring. They did, you know, sort of shoot and put out leaves last spring, and they're getting that bit bigger this year, but I think I might well leave them, just let them get a bit more strength into them before I start trying to eat them. And this is my strawberry patch, which, following the rain we've had over the last week, has really perked itself up, so they're looking great. In here, let me just find a suitable spot without stepping on my strawberries. This is the first raised bed, so this end is quite shady, this end is less so. These are the old trampoline, sorry, making it blur, the silver bits of the old base of the trampoline that went this spring, netting over the top of it, and I have sown, what have we got in here? Salad leaves, pak choys, spinach, radish. What's that one over there? Sorry, can't remember what I only did this yesterday. Oh, land cress. Sorry. Another couple of rows of the scorzonera and the salsify, just in case they don't come in the main plot, and just to see if they do grow in here really. 4 rows of carrots, again 2 different successional varieties, and Welsh onions to the right, which is the first time I've ever grown those. They're perennial. I assume they're a bit like spring onions and chives. I'm hoping you can use them as you would normal onions, and then I think supposedly you just divide the clumps every couple of years and you just have a never-ending supply of Welsh onions. The back raised bed has my herbs in it. There's not a huge amount in there at the moment. I think I've put a sage in at the back. This is lemon balm down there. It is a nightmare, it just seeds everywhere. The big fluffy one in the front is either dill or fennel. I can never remember. I did use one of those plant app identifiers ages ago. It did tell me and I still can't remember. Bit of thyme, which really doesn't seem to do very well in there, some chives, and I think that's oregano and marjoram possibly. But I've got some parsley growing from seed, and some basil and some coriander that will go in and fill up those beds, and I might put a few Welsh onions in there as well. We shall see. And then I'll go round the back of the gate that goes to nowhere. This little bed, oh, looks a bit damaged from the wind and the rain we've had. This little bed I think I put in again last springtime. Lockdown, nothing else to do, so I put a new bed in. And again, this was done with no dig. We had a whole load of daffodils in here. We now got some tulips that have come through that have been looking fantastic. In fact, that one is very fluffy and lovely looking in the sunshine. Lots of nice nettles beside it. That's a never-ending job, peeling the nettles away. And I see thistles in the back I need to pull out, so this needs weeding. But other than that, I will I have put some hyacinth bulbs in here, some calla lilies. So I'll just show you, those are calla lilies coming up. I put those in. So yeah, I'll sprinkle some more annuals. We've got some aquilegia there. So just a pretty little bed that hopefully will fairly well look after itself once I've got a few things in it. Alright, so I'll just show you this quickly whilst I'm here. This is crabapple tree in full blossom at the moment. It's absolutely lovely, and we get so many crab apples off it. It's fantastic. Love making crabapple jelly. It's really good, particularly if you put it in gravy with roast pork. And then just to the right of it is another crabapple tree, and this one has slightly pinker blossoms on it. But yeah, so this is looking really pretty at the moment. Okay, so we're just in the field to the side of the garden, and these sticks and dog, and these 4 sticks here are some fruit trees that I ordered in September. They didn't turn up till March. I've planted them in, so I have a little, well, I did have a little mini orchard, because over there should be a 5th tree, but that is where my 5th fruit tree has gone, because a couple of days ago I opened the curtains to find a couple of deer in this field, and at the time I thought, they're a bit close to my fruit trees, but I didn't think anything of it, and they soon disappeared. And I've just had a look now, and they have trashed my cooking apple tree. So yeah, not overly impressed with that, to be quite honest with you. I will have to go and purchase another one. I'll probably only get a cheap one from Tesco's, to be honest with you. These came from a posh garden company, so it'll be interesting to see how the Tesco one does in relation to these ones. But basically I've got pear, Victoria plum, green gage and a damson. They might not be in that order, I can't remember which way I put them in. So these are my fruit trees for the moment, minus my cooking apple. Oh, I'm really cross about that. So cross. Okay, so we're just up at my little collapsible greenhouses. I love these things. You know, I think posh greenhouses are great, but these are more than suitable when you don't have a big posh greenhouse. So in here, this top row is all lettuce, little gem lettuce, all sown at different times, that's doing well, apart from these, which are cerinthy flowers that I'm about to put into pots. Down here we have some squashes, courgettes, pumpkins, spinach in the corner there. Not doing too well, not impressed with that one so far. Nasturtiums that are about to be taken out and put into pots, and these are black-eyed Susans that yeah, actually they're doing okay. They look a bit yellow and anemic, but maybe that's just the way they're supposed to be. But they are growing, so we shall see. Into the next one, we have lots of broccolis, cabbages, peppers, some big tomatoes. You all notice, oh no, actually those are like chilies that I bought. Yeah, they look quite big in comparison to mine. They're a bit piddly. Some agretti at the back. I have got this in the raised bed as well. It's this Italian, it's not a herb, it's more of a green, and it's sort of cut and come again, and you're supposed to saute it with onion, with olive oil and garlic. But at the moment, I mean, well, I'm not going to get much of a meal out of that yet. Multi-sown beetroot that look like they'll be ready to go out any day soon. We have got some celery and some leeks just coming through here. This is all parsley, more celery. This year I've tried to grow more things that will take us through the winter, because normally I get quite a lot in the summer and then nothing happens over the winter, hence all the broccoli and the cabbages and things. These little pots I wanted to find a use for, and I thought, well, I'll put them on the patio in front of the kitchen and then I can nip out and get them. I just haven't moved them there yet because we still had all the frost. So this is spinach, which is looking a bit better. This needs to come out. This is cut and come again lettuce leaves, landcress, and a couple of rows of carrots. They seem to be doing very well at the moment. And then in my final one I have my tomatoes. So I watch all these Instagrammers, gardeners, and they all have either big posh greenhouses or, you know, sort of grow lights and all, and their tomatoes are huge, and I look at mine and think, oh dear. But they normally get there eventually. So I've got various varieties, various shapes, sizes and colours. And then I bought a couple of pots in case mine didn't come to anything. And look at the size of those compared to my piddly little things. But there we go. I'm sure they will grow.